Ladies and gentlemen, behold, the latest piece of crap pop album. Here We Go Again, by Demi Lovato. For those of you who don't know her, Demi Lovato is another one of those Disney Channel phenomenons. She was in a movie with the Jonas Faggots called Camp Rock, where they dress up like hillbillies and sing muterized versions of rock and roll stylings. Dumbed down so it can be quote-unquote appropriate for the uncultured little shits who have the privilege to watch the Disney Channel, let alone 300 plus channels and acquire all the assorted merchandise sold at Target. This has to be one of the most manufactured albums I've ever heard by a long shot. Just read the title. Here We Go Again. A $1 million budget and pocketbook, and this is all you could think of to name your second album. This is just the kind of thing that designates to me as an entertainer, rather than an artist. And yes, this is the second studio album by Demi. I did not get to hear her first album, but this one is probably worse than what came before. It's common for these pop stars to lose their stride after the first few blowout success hits. After a failure to find anything interesting or unique with the album cover or title, I had to listen to the songs. When listening to this album, I couldn't find any meaning to it. There was nothing but songs about her raving about boys and providing a stupidly overdramatic, and at times, sloppy vocal performance. Demi Lovato is not a good singer, at all. It's like the producers had her do everything in one take, sounding half-prepared and leaving the rest of the work to them to doctor all her takes. Dem serves strictly as a vocalist, and left the studio musicians and producers to do every bit of work crafting the songs together, but with 20 plus people in any given song on this album amounts to nothing. Nothing original or memorable induces me to come back and listen to the album again. The first two songs are boring pop rock songs that have no distinction or uniqueness. There's no maturity in the lyrics and there's many vocal lines that are terrible choices that give this lack of maturity away. The song Got Dynamite can constitute as a hard rock song, but it's made in the worst way possible. Demi Lovato is not a hard rock musician, so a song like this serves no purpose for her album, but only to make a very shallow attempt to showcase an extension of her sound and try and appeal to hard rock fans. That's the sixth track, and following that are 7 songs that sound no different than the first 6. The track Gift of a Friend is unbearable with its melodrama and needless trills of her voice. Everything is way too overdone for a song that barely reaches 3.5 minutes. After another grating pseudo-tearjerker ballad, the album ends with the title track. Hollowly crafted to be an upbeat resolution song in contrast with the previous 3 or 4 memorable melodrama tracks. This album has a very pseudo-story-driven structure that attempts to equate to an emotional process that happens to a person within 1 hour, but it fails to do that. There's no cohesion to it lyrically or musically. There's no central story or theme, other than Demi is a clod who has relationships with every teenage guy her age affiliated with Disney. Hence one of the lines being, "Stick to acting. Who the hell wants to hear about that?" And hearing these limp serenades to boys over the course of 14 tracks of Demo's blubbering sex groans doesn't help pique the interest of the wise music listener. It actually sounds like a Yorkshire Terrier begging for giblets behind a closed door. There are plenty of other albums, like Led Zeppelin's Alto, for example, that, despite no actual concept, it flows just as well as a concept album. There's no expansion upon what veteran pop musicians have made back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, rendering the album, yet again, pointless in that regard. To be completely honest, this album, and Breakout by Miley Cyrus are no different from one another in the basis of structure, production, instrumentation, vocal styles, and most importantly, the songwriting. Come to think of it, it's just like that other piece of shit album, The Fame by Lady Gimmick. The song I'm referring to is none other than Every Time You Lie with its orchestral string backing. Jesus Christ, there are so many songs like this one in pop albums from the last few years. Why not just vote in the least sucky of these clones and include it everyone's album? Falling Over Me, Quiet, Catch Me, Stop the World, World of Chances, Everything You're Not, Gift of a Friend, Solo are all memorable, filler crap that stagnate and don't push any boundaries. Once again, with $1 million recording budget, these tracks all sound the same and are just more space for Demi to emotionally masturbate about these relationships. The producers are probably aware that the listeners of this pop act don't care much about instrumental intrigue. Quick appeals are the first things sought after, and as a result the vast majority of the album is a waste of material. Despite everything said, this album should only appeal to the most casual of music fans. I know that the name Demi Lovato came out from the mouth of every prep I was in radius with when in high school. It was all Demi Lovato this, Demi Lovato that, when they be sitting in their chairs like there was a silicone dildo stuck up their ass through their jeans. Even in my first year of college, I still hear the name spouted out from some girl every now and then. It's so depressing that I had to be a witness of 20-year-old musical remedials around me, but perhaps a very exotic strain of syphilis will wipe them out over the course of the next few years. All in all, stay away from high-budget albums, and stay away from pop music altogether, because the major record companies think they are fooling everybody by releasing the same album, but by someone with a different name. Why does this chick have to be a frontrunner in the music industry when there are countless unsigned artists who can make the same album as hers but better, and with more relevant experiences to impart to the world? Demi Lovato is pure shit, plain and simple. In a few years, nobody is going to even remember her name, because someone with the same sound, but different look, is going to replace her megastardom. The young girls listening to her today will mature and come across better music, and then will listen and look back to this album and others related in 5 to 10 years and realize how cheated they've been with this musician imitation. And the corporate firm behind her